Good morning, children. Today I'm going to explain you the poetry, that is the ball poem, written by John Berryman. Though we have already done this in the live class, but still I'm going to cover this in the video once again for you so that you get a clear picture of what this poetry talks about. So now it says that, what is the boy now who has lost his ball? What is he to do? I saw it go, merrily bouncing down the street, and then merrily over there it is in the water. No use to say, oh, there are other balls. So now if I give you a clear picture of what this poetry is all about, this poetry is basically, it is describing you the grief of a small boy who has actually lost his ball for the very first time. And with this first loss, he is actually sensing his first responsibility in the materialistic world. So now the poem is about a little boy, and for the very first time in his young life, exactly how the children, when they grow up, when they learn the responsibilities, and when they learn that this is a particular thing that they have lost. So you tend to understand what exactly a loss is, probably what your responsibilities are towards any particular materialistic thing. So now for the very first time, he has actually lost one of his very loved possession, that is his ball. And that, his ball is actually symbolic of his all sweet memories of his childhood. So now the boy loses his ball and watches it bouncing down the street into the river. So now it is actually a symbolic, it is not basically a literal meaning about the ball. The ball here symbolizes, because when you're small little children, when you're a toddler, when you're growing, you tend to, whatever your toys are, you have a great love for them. So exactly the same way, that is why a toy has been given a symbolic representation here to the fondest memories. And when he's growing from a toddler to a little boy, and then turning towards his teenage, he's actually looking onto all the past memories, and he's just remembering how fondest memories he had of his childhood. So he's watching his ball, which is bouncing down the street into the water. To us, the loss of a ball is of a minor consequence, but to that little boy, it was his valued possession. So the poet here deters himself from saying that there are other balls, because the boy wants the same ball. If you understand, there'll be like many other experiences that you'll be like facing when you'll be growing into the passage of life. You may receive more happiness in comparison to the ones which have already been there in your life. But whatever the past experience has actually got a importance in your life, probably the newer ones would not have exactly the same ones. So exactly the same way, the poet here tells us that there'll be like many balls which might come up and which might tend to replace the fondest memories of the previous ball, but actually the ball that he has lost might have the greatest importance in his life. Now the ball had been with him for a long time, and it was linked to his memories of the days when he played with it. So the boy's ball personifies his young days and happy innocence. So I hope the first 5 lines are clear to you. So now we're going to move on further to the next 5 lines. An ultimate shaking grief fixes the boy as he stands rigid, trembling, staring down all his young days into the harbor where his ball went. I would not intrude on him a dime. Another ball is worthless. So now here, if I talk about the word dime is actually the 10 cents in US. And let me give you the meaning of rigid. Rigid is like very stiff. Trembling is shivering. And harbor is a place where ships loads and unloads the good, and intrude on to enter a situation when one is not welcome. So now, let me just give you the explanation. It says that when the young boy loses his ball, it bounces away and lands in the harbor. The boy is very much troubled at the loss of his ball and plunges into grief. So now when he's actually looking onto his past fondest memories, and he's just thinking where his ball has been stuck onto the harbor. So he's just remembering all his past events which has been through his life, So he stands stiff and he trembles while staring at his ball, and he is upset as he looks into the gloomy water because he cannot find his ball. And very truly said, if you actually try to get your innocence and your childhood back, it is very hard. Not only the childhood, rather any age of life, it is very hard to really get that particular life back ever in your, in your future. So the boy is deeply affected by the loss of his ball because it has been with him for a long time. When the ball bounces into the water, all his memories for his childhood days flashes into front of him, and this leads to the realization that those moments would never ever come back in his life, just like the ball which has actually landed into the harbor, and he would not be able to get the same ball ever back again. Furthermore, the poet doesn't offer him money to buy another ball because he knows, and he even lays more emphasis that yes, if I am going to give him another 10 cents to buy another ball, probably that would be just worthless, because your past and the fondest memories can never be replaced with that of money or something new in life. So now moving further. Now he senses his first responsibility. In a world of possessions, people will take balls will be lost always, little boy, and no one buys a ball back. Money is external. So now possessions is something that is owned or possessed, and external is something which is like, superficial. So now the boy is very upset when he looks into the gloomy water because he cannot find the ball. And this is when he gets his first sense of responsibility, and he understands, once a thing is lost in his life, he would not be able to get back, especially his fondest memories and the childhood innocence. The poet here suggests that from the loss of the ball, the boy is learning what is meaning to lose something in a world of possessions where he will lose things. So now this is the time where the boy, young boy, and he learns that yes, it is going to be, these things would actually keep on coming in his life, and he would actually keep on losing many other things in his life, and he needs to learn that yes, once you lose particular thing, so it doesn't mean that you have lost everything in your life, but the life moves on. So there'll be like people who will come and they'll buy some new products or probably some new materialistic world with the older ones, but once a thing is lost forever. Now there'll be people who will actually buy some more to replace the ones which is lost, but would never be able to buy back the thing that he had lost already. In this poem, the boy's ball personifies his young days and happiness. Okay. So now the poet again makes the boy understand about his responsibility, as the loss is immaterial and money is external, as it cannot buy memories. Money cannot really buy you love, affection or memories, nor can it replace the things that we love, the things that we really matter. So this is how we tend to learn what our senses of responsibilities are and how we should really cope up with things that we lose in our life. Now the last stanza, he is learning well behind his desperate eyes, his epistemology of loss, how to stand up, knowing what every man must one day know, and most know many days how to stand up. So now if I talk about epistemology of loss, it means that understanding the nature of loss, what it means to lose something, okay? And epistemology is actually a Greek word which is actually the real meaning of this word is knowledge. So it is actually formed from that Greek word, and desperate is very hopeless. So now the poet here suggests that from the loss of the ball, the boy is learning how to stand up in the world, because once you tend to lose particular thing, you will not be waiting somebody to actually come and really replace those fondest memories with something new in the life, but you would actually tend to get up yourself and try to make up the way so that you can just overcome your past memories, but you will never ever feel like forgetting them. Okay, the boy is learning what it means to lose something. The poet says that knowing that every man has to stand up after such losses, the boy too will learn how to stand up and leave the loss behind, as he would have understood the true meaning and nature of loss. So by the meaning of this last stanza, he actually suggests that the loss of the ball, with the loss of the ball, the boy is learning how to stand up in the world, and he would understand what is the nature of the loss, and probably he'll get some knowledge that this is the time when you actually tend to, there'll be times when you'll have to leave certain things and move towards your life. So now if I talk about the poetic devices which are used here, this is actually a symbolism, as I told you, because the ball has been represented as a symbolic, okay, symbolic representation of his young and innocent days. And then we have the repetition, like we have what, repeating, and balls also repeating, okay. So alliteration, you all know, repetition of the initial consonant sounds in the same line, which is like what. So WW is repeating, ball, BB is repeating, buys a ball back, again BB is repeating. So that is the explanation of the poetry, the ball poem.